Well, hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm back. I hope you guys are doing fantastic out there. In this video today, we're going to take a look at a pure sine wave inverter that I just picked up off of Amazon. This is not a sponsored video. This is something that we purchased with our own money. For those of you that have been watching us for a while, you know that we live off the grid, so we look into power inverters, and more specifically sine wave power inverters. Now this one is 1200 watts. It had a very good price point and excellent reviews. So we're going to open this up and see if this inverter is all it's cracked up to be. I can't wait to dive in and take a look at this inverter. Let's get started. So real quick, looking at the side of the box, you can see it does have a remote included, and the cable that comes with the remote is 14.76 feet. Right here is the dimensions of the unit is 9.13 inches long, 3.15 inches tall, and 5.75 inches wide. This one is gonna be fun. We open the package. The first thing that we see is the product manual. The company is LanderPow. We'll just thumb through this pretty quickly. I'm gonna move through this fairly fast. So if you see anything that you want to read a little longer, please make sure you're hitting that pause button. Right there, it's got lots of information in this manual. I always like looking at the manuals just in case maybe somebody out there didn't have a manual or needed this valuable information. So right here it's telling you how to hook it up. We're going to talk about that in the video today. There's some specifications of the unit. Very cool. And then over here, pretty important, there is some troubleshooting information. So whatever the cause is and whatever the solution might be. Very cool. And then right here is some contact information, and there's a QR code. If you wish to scan that, feel free to do so. And then on the back, you can go to their website at LanderPow.com. So that's that. Next thing that we see here is the remote. Two buttons on there, on-off button, kind of cool. Takes what appears to be a phone line, so very nice. We'll set that aside. What do we have here? We have a little bag full of stuff. It looks like a wrench just fell out. So we have this. What is this? A grounding wire. Very interesting. We do have some cables here. Nice little alligator clamps. Those look pretty heavy duty. For the price point, you know, just based on these, yeah, not bad. Not bad so far. Those have really tight, they're good. They're good. Okay, let's take a look. What else do we got? There is our line to connect the remote. So pull that out. That just looks like standard phone line. Pretty cool. There's the little wrench that fell down. So let's go ahead and pull this inverter out. We'll just dump that thing out like that. There's nothing left in the box, as you can see here. Packaging of this thing, it looks like it's packaged very well. I am seeing a small wrench that's included. So very cool. I like all the padding that they put on it. They did a good job packaging this thing up. Very nice. Okay, there is a look at the unit. LanderPow pure sine wave inverter, 1200 watts, and it surges at 2400 watts. This is a 12 volt DC inverter, and it'll output 120 volt AC. It does come with the remote control. It has 3 AC sockets. It has 18 watt USB port and a 30 watt USB-C port. On this side of the unit, you can see the negative and positive terminals. So you take these little nuts off, one on each side. I like that. That's nice because it helps reduce the potential for short circuiting. So very nice. So you do have a fan and nice positive and negative terminals. On the bottom of the unit, we don't really see too much. And then on the back here, you have a start switch, which is on or off. You have your 3 ports. You've got your, what appears to be your ground. This is the remote cable. And then you have your USB-A, that's the 18 watt port. And then you got your 30 watt type C port. So that is pretty nice. I like what I see so far. The weight of this thing is pretty good. It feels fairly heavy. So I'm guessing it'll be heavy duty. We're going to go ahead and connect these cables. Take that off. So we'll just go ahead and put the cable on. Put the flat washer. Put the lock washer. And the nut. Kind of cool. And it's cool that they give you the little wrench for that. Pretty cool. So far, I'm liking what I see. The price point on this thing was very good. Now, this is not a unit that I would probably use for a full out off-grid situation, but if you're going to be powering maybe an RV or a bathhouse, or maybe you know, a little workshop with some light duty stuff, 1200 watts is not bad. So there's the negative cable. Let's go ahead and put on the positive cable. We're going to repeat the process here. Take those off. And these cables, they feel fairly thick. They feel like maybe 10 gauge. They might even be 8 gauge. It's hard to say. You know, they have thick insulation, but so I guess what I'm saying is the cables, for what it is, they feel good. They feel thick enough. They feel like they'll carry the load very well. We'll find out, because we're definitely going to test this thing. I do like the little wrench that they included. It's cool, you know, when you open a product and it has everything that you need right there in the box. I do like that. I think that's pretty nice. And these things, everything on this inverter so far feels pretty solid. The terminals, you know, where you connect the positive and negative wires, they feel pretty good. Not too bad at all. If you wanted to connect your ground wire, you could remove this little guy right here. Just this little guy. And then, of course, you would connect this little loop terminal right here. Just like that. You'd put that on and then put this back on, and then you'd be grounded. But we're not going to do that today. There's not really a need for us to ground it today, but grounding is not a bad idea. So if you are one out there that wants to ground your inverter, that's a good call on your part. So we're going to make sure that this thing is turned in the off position. We'll go ahead and hook up the remote control as well. This is plenty of cable. We're just going to plug in here, and then the back side right there. It's extremely simple. That's all there is to it. And this one is also in the off position. Today's battery is the Golden Mate Orion 1000. I really like this battery, so we're going to set that back there. And now we'll go ahead and connect our negative terminal, which is going to go right here. We'll connect that right there. And then when we go to connect the positive, you might see a small spark. If you see a small spark, it's just because the battery is charging the capacitors in the inverter. So no spark. So now we have the inverter connected. Let's go ahead and flip this switch. And as you can see, the inverter has kicked on. It's telling us the status of the battery, and it's got the indicator that tells us that the battery's full, and it also has the wattage. This turns on and off the screen. That's pretty cool. I like it. Turn it off just like that. Or if you didn't have the remote, you could just turn the unit on right there. You get this little indicator light that's green that turns on. But in our case, we're going to go ahead and use the remote because I want to see the numbers. I want to see the wattages that we're drawing when we test this thing. Okay, let's go ahead and take our pressure cooker, our Instant Pot. I like using this for testing things simply because the Instant Pot 6-quart that we have here, this thing pulls around 1,000 watts. So I feel that this will be a good test for this inverter. So let's go ahead and plug this in. We'll make sure that we're in the pressure position. We'll start. And let's keep an eye on this and see what we got here. Let's watch the numbers in real time. I love that you can see the voltages. There we go, we're kicking in. Look at that, 900 is 1,000 watts right there. That is fantastic. You see the battery getting low? That's normal because electricity flows like water. Once it comes up to pressure, we will see the wattage drop drastically. You can hear that the fan has already kicked on the unit. So I'm reaching back and I'm feeling the back, and the fan air is blowing this way. The reason I'm making a note of that is because if you wanted to hang this thing up against the wall, you wanted to mount it because it has these little mounting spots, you want to make sure that you're mounting it where the air is going to rise. So you wouldn't want to mount it with the fan trying to blow air downward. That would be, you'd be fighting yourself on heat. So knowing that the airflow is going up, that helps me when it comes to mounting this thing. I would mount it where the air is going to be able to escape the unit. So right now we're still taking a look. Everything is looking good so far. We are pulling 970 watts. And I thought that I would go out with the big guns right off the bat on testing. You know, might as well go for it. We're going to go ahead and put it to its paces. 970 watts. I like this little remote. Pretty nice. Now right here you can see the wattage that we're pulling, 60 hertz. You can see the little fan icon. Our fan is on. Sine wave. This is the power that we're outputting. And then you can see right here this DC and AC jumping back and forth. It's telling us that it's taking the DC, converting it to AC. And then of course right here you can see our battery health or our battery level. So I like this unit so far. It's really nice. I'd like to see what it looks like, you know, when it comes up to pressure. The fact that we're able to run 1,000 watts is pretty good, you know, because we're definitely putting this thing close to its limitations. And of course, as I'm waiting for this thing to come up to pressure, I'm looking at the plastic of this controller, and it's nice and thick. This will be easy to mount. You know, you cut a little square in a piece of wood, you slide this in, and you put 4 little screws in there. I think this is going to be really nice. I like this remote control. They've included a nice one here. So as we're bringing this up to pressure, I want to make note of something real quick. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and I'll explain what's going on right here. These alligator clamps, look at that. They're getting hot. Now that is not uncommon when you use alligator clamps. They get hot. So if you're going to be running a large load that's going to be pushing this thing to its max, like we are today in this test, I would suggest maybe using ring terminals like we have here so that we don't create all that unnecessary heat and damage these alligator clips. So I saw it just barely smoking, and I thought I'd share that with you. It's not anything that reflects the performance of this unit. It's simply, it doesn't matter what unit I'm using, I run into that quite frequently. So with that being said, I'm going to change these and try to put them this way in hopes that it'll clarify things and make it run a little better. Let's kick it back on. Let's bring the thing back on and we'll start pressure cooking again. We'll get that thing up to pressure and we'll see what happens. I just wanted to make note of that so you guys saw that. Hopefully this orientation won't get as hot. Now we're starting to pull some serious wattage. Again, I'm gonna let it go and let it come up to pressure, and then we'll be back once it's pressurized. And I'm gonna keep an eye on this. I'm gonna fill the wires and see if they get hot. And I'm obviously looking for any signs of smoke that is signs of heat. And I don't see none yet, but if I do, I'll let you know. So we're still in the process of coming up to pressure. And if you look right here, you'll see a tiny bit of smoke. They're getting warm. If I hold the wires, you can feel they're getting warm, but they're not hot to the touch. It's mainly just the clamp right there. But again, that is not a reflection of this unit. All the units that use these, I've ran into that. So I don't want you to think there's something against this unit. There's not. This is warm to the touch. I do feel a little bit of heat here. And as you can see, we got some smoke going on right there. Nothing major, but definitely something that if we were going to be doing loads like this all the time, we would want a better termination on the battery than something like this. It just can't get the flow of electricity through those alligator clips like it needs to. But so far the unit's working good and we're coming up to pressure. I'm noticing that the smoke has kind of settled down a little bit. We're still pulling 970 watts, 960, 970. I love this remote control. I like the fan. The fan puts out a lot of air. The cables are not hot to the touch, and the little button just popped up. So we are up to pressure. Now we're just going to wait until we see these numbers drop down. The unit is working very well. I'm impressed with this inverter. It just needs thicker cables or less of a load. There, we dropped down to 0 and we are now up to pressure. We're not smoking over here. The fan puts out a good amount of airflow. We have no watts coming from it. This inverter did a good job. We ran a pretty hard test on it. If you're somebody that was going to run something like this on the regular, or maybe you're running a waffle maker or an electric skillet or something like that, if you're going to be running close to 1,000 watts, 1,100 watts, I would suggest very strongly that you don't use this type of connection, that you get maybe some thicker wires and definitely use ring terminals like you see over here. That'll eliminate the smoking and the heat that's built up right here. It's really being bottlenecked through those alligator clamps. Now as you can see, the battery voltage has came back up because we're not flowing electricity no more. Just like water, we stopped the flow of electricity because we're up to pressure. But I'm impressed with this unit. It's doing a good job. Well folks, that's about all I got for you today on this video. Taking a look at this little 1200 watt power inverter. Pure sine wave electricity. So if you're going to be using electricity for maybe television, computers, maybe it's medical equipment, CPAP machines, stuff like that, sine wave inverter is definitely what you want. Maybe it's your smart TV or something like that and you don't want dirty electricity. Sine wave electricity is where it's at. I think this unit passed with flying colors. We did put it up against a pretty good solid test for itself. We saw the little bit of smoke and I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you guys, and just to kind of caution you guys, if you're using large loads with these types of connections, it doesn't matter what inverter it is. I've seen that across the board. For what I saw in this test today, the unit passes with flying colors. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in this unit, I'll put a link down below in the description box where you can find it. Again, this is not a sponsored video. This is just something that I picked up and I like it. I think it works good and I'm happy with my purchase. Please feel free to thumb up this video, share this video. If you like the type of content that you see on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, choose all notifications. And until next time, I hope you guys have a beautiful day. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now, everybody.